Hey, how's it going there, folks? Welcome back here for another update on this wonderful Friday night. It is about 10:39 p.m. here, California time. The last day of May. We got June right around the corner tomorrow. Latest earthquake activity here on the globe. Let's check it out. Got a 1.9 here into the area of Alaska. Of course, we did see quite a bit of large-scale movement out here today across the planet. We'll check this out here in just a little bit. A lot of folks wondering where that CME is, that the potential Aurora maker. Well, right now things are pretty quiet. Technically, we should have seen an arrival of that CME. I think it potentially completely missed us. We were forecasted there to be just right on one of the far side of the CME areas, and I think it missed us because it should have came in by now. I mean, we're not really seeing anything. I'm thinking right here, when was that? Yesterday, right? That could have been a little hint that it barely sideswiped us, and that was it, because there's nothing coming in there on the Aurora forecast. I was just checking out the solar wind stream here. Really no sign of any type of CME. And here's that little bump here in the speed that kicked up here. What was it, about last night or early this morning? And I think that was it. So I'm pretty certain that the threat here in terms of the auroras have passed. They should have came in by now. Now there's still obviously some potential here, it looks like, for the June 1st time frame, UTC time frame, 06 to 09. And right now it is June 6, 05, 0540. So maybe, just maybe here in the next couple hours, we may get a little bit here. We'll have to see. I think it missed us because there's really no sign of anything coming in. And I think it should have hit us by now. So, all right, let's go back here and check out the flaring activity today. We did see a pretty decent X-flare from the sunspot there on the southeastern quadrant of the sun. A little, I shouldn't say a little, but a decent 1.1 X-flare. And of course that's coming off of the sunspot 3697. That is the culprit that has produced many X-flares. Last time it was out here on the earth-facing side of the sun, renamed from 3664 to the current sunspot designation there. Still quite complex. Still possible here. Doesn't look like it wants to give up so easy. It's crazy that this thing is a long duration sunspot and throwing out all these X-flares. So it is getting into position here where should we get a long duration X-flare similar to what we've seen a couple nights ago there, that will be more geo-effective. When it did throw off that long duration X-flare with that CME, it was way over here. So that's why I'm saying that forecasted CME tonight, the Aurora activity, missed us because of that position there. But we're getting in here. Next few days here are going to be interesting to watch from that sunspot. I think we're going to see some further large flaring activity. And of course up here, look at that, continues to degrade. And that's about it. It's so long, see ya. The rest of these sunspots up here, very small chances of flaring from the remainder of the sunspots. So right now the main threat consists of that large active region on the southeastern quadrant here of the sun, 3697, and the overall threat shows a 35% chance for continued X-flare activity, M-flare 75, and C-flare activity at 99% chance. And really not a whole lot of auroras stirring up right now. It was forecasted, but I think it missed us entirely. We'll see if I eat my words in the morning, though. All right, let's get back to earthquake activity. Man, goodness, look at all this movement out here across the area. Western Pacific plate, western side of the Filipino plate. Couple sixes out here today. Let's go to the largest magnitudes in the last 24 hours. That's quite a bit of movement stirring up out here. Started it off here with a couple sixes here on the southern areas of the plates. We got 6.3 down here in the Prince Edward Islands early this morning. And then just a couple minutes later, we've seen a 6.2 here across the Kermadec Islands, where we're still seeing some earthquake movement and a cluster of activity out here. It does look like things may want to increase and intensify here around this region. So obviously we've got to watch areas down south here now. New Zealand got 3.1 on the plate boundary, it looks like, right around the Wellington area. Got to keep an eye on this area. We're definitely looking at some movement stirring up here in the larger scale department of things. All this activity up north. Goodness, look at all that movement around Taiwan. South and north of the area. Quite a few 4s and 5s out here. We can see it on the Earthquake 3D globe pretty nicely as well. All the white color rings indicating newer movement. Big time adjustment going on out here across this area. So keep an eye on things. When it's active like this on a broad scale, that's when things get interesting. Some movement up into the China area as well. Looks like some a little swarming going on there. 5.6 and a 4.4 and some other small quakes. The Mediterranean here, nothing showing up on the USGS side of things, but still got a little bit of activity out here in the smaller microquake range. South America, typical movement out there. Really nothing major going on. Could see things stir up out here further around the South Sandwich Trench following all this movement down south. We'll definitely watch that. The Atlantic Ocean pretty quiet aside from one movement. One little earthquake up there north of Iceland. Speaking of Iceland, let's double check that real quick. See how things are going up here. Been so busy recently. I don't have a whole lot of time to look at these webcams, but it doesn't look like the conditions are favorable for viewing, at least on a couple of those webcams there. And this is live. There's at least two large active craters out here, continuing to spill over lava, and a beautiful display of fountaining of the lava. Absolutely stunning, to say the least. It will be interesting to watch and see how long this goes on. Now, let's see if they put out an update out here recently. This update was put out today. Just chatting about the fairly consistent activity over the past 24 hours. Lava flows mainly between Hagafell and the Slingorfell region. It looks like let's see, they haven't really included any new maps. There's the potential SO2 plume, the volcanic gases out there. Really no new maps here. I was looking for some updated lava flow maps, but this is the most recent one. And as you can see, it has made its way down here across the Grindavik area, just to the west side, across the barriers. It hasn't crossed the barriers, but it is right up against them. You know, thankfully, we got those in place. So we'll check back on it. Either way, it looks like things are remaining active, and we'll see how long it lasts. Out here in the States, as far as earthquake activity goes, the eastern portion of the country, quiet. Texas, oil fields getting hit again. A little bit of movement down here in the Idaho area. A couple smaller 2s. Mount Saint Helens, goodness, what's going on up here? We got another earthquake. A couple smaller earthquakes out here today. I want to bring up the last 7 days here. Getting up there on the numbers again. 34 earthquakes here in the last 7 days. Last 30 days, about 89. But we've been noticing an increase here in the earthquake activity across this area recently. So it might be something we want to watch here. If it turns into any more of a significant swarm there. Let me check out the seismograph stations up there real quick. By the way, the tremor count out here along the Cascadia, 319 epicenters. So Mount Saint Helens, goodness, excuse me. There's all that earthquake activity stirring up, mainly across the summit area. Really not any large movement, but it's a lot. Goodness, look at all that activity. So check out a seismograph station or two here, see what's going on. Can already see some of the earthquake activity here. Very small movement. There's some of the looks like S waves from a distant earthquake. There's another one, but looks like the amplitude here is going to make it difficult to see some of these other smaller quakes. So, yeah, it's a little bit of earthquake stirring up out there. Let me jump back over here to the volcano hazards map. Check out the gas emissions there from that volcano. Now remember, we did see a little bit of swarming out here last year. In July and August, I think we had a couple months of a decent amount of swarming going on out here. Nothing big, but a little bit larger than what we're seeing right now. And of course, this is offline. I forgot. I checked this a couple nights ago, and it's still offline. So we really can't see what's going on here. That does absolutely nothing in terms of helping us understand maybe what's going on here. That station's offline. And of course, we just checked out this other seismograph station. And you know, there's the earthquakes are kind of hard to decipher in some of this noise, but they're more defined, more spiky out here. But it does look like, you know, there's some earthquake activity stirring up out here across the Mount Saint Helens area. And again, these are super small. Well, there's actually a magnitude 1, which is decent, but most of, in terms of watching activity here across the volcano, but most of these earthquakes here have been relatively small. There's a 2-pointer as well early this morning. Largest magnitude here so far is that 2-pointer we've seen this morning in that cluster of activity out here. Most of these earthquakes here looks like they're occurring around 4 to 5 kilometers deep, down around where the magma could potentially be recharging the system. So we'll check back on that. Definitely something of interest there. One little lonesome earthquake here on the Gorda Plate, just prior to the Cascadia subduction zone area. Make sure the bells are off and everything's recording. A little bit too tired to redo an update. California rocking and rolling this morning a little bit with a 3-pointer north of Los Angeles here, well north into the mountains. That earthquake coming in 18 kilometers deep, just off the, you know, there's a couple different fault systems out here near the Ojai area, it looks like. Mission Ridge Fault. It's hard to say. If I remember right, there was a swarm out here last year. A pretty decent swarm here. I believe it was in the same area. And someone mentioned that there's oil fields out here. Let me see if I can spot that. Where this activity is stirring up doesn't look like it. Again, this is pretty deep, though. 18 kilometers there for that 3.6. It was felt, though, locally across that area, even down further into the Los Angeles area and Long Beach region. So a little bit of movement there in Southern California here today, down along the San Jacinto Fault Zone as well. Some earthquake activity here on the San Andreas Fault, the southern branch here. Got to watch that. It's well overdue, right? We keep saying that. I'm sure, you know, it keeps falling on ears that may no longer care, right? That complacency, though, is what can set us back if we're not prepared. So definitely got to watch that. No doubt, I feel the Garlock Fault shear zone out here is a big player in accumulating stress as well. It just kind of makes sense here with the general movement of the plates out here. And, you know, it's a very hazardous area, these two regions. General seismic activity somewhat elevated inland around Nevada as well on a broader scale of things out here. No major movement out here across Nevada, but still noticing that elevated earthquake uptick here throughout the last 24 hours. Couple quakes here, couple quakes there. Here a quake, there a quake, everywhere a quake, quake. Looks like 2 here, 2 there. Goodness. But there's more to that. Definitely looks like there's a handful more out here across the area. Let's see what we got. 4.2, 49 kilometers. This one here fairly deep into the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. Got to watch this area. This one's super primed for a big quake. Well, there we go. Some movement out here in the Ascension Fracture Zone here near the Ascension Island area. Been a little while since we've seen any movement out here. Away from the Georgetown area, it looks like, obviously, 60 miles or so. 4.9 coming in, so, you know, things are kicking up here. Definitely getting active out here, and it all set off, it looks like, this morning following these 2 large quakes here. When you move around one piece of the puzzle, obviously things can adjust accordingly, thousands of miles away across other areas of the plate boundary. A lot of, geologists and whatnot, they tend to deny that theory, but I see it time and time again where, it takes place. It happens a lot. Hawaii. Any changes going on out here? 1 earthquake, 2.1 in the last hour near Kilauea Volcano. Let's go check it out here, see what we got. Still sitting at a yellow and advisory. It's it looks pretty quiet. There's that 1 earthquake here coming in the last hour. Aside from that, earthquake movement very minimal. Deformation data here in terms of inflation shows us that, make sure we're not getting attacked here. Shows us that we're going back up here a little bit. I am kind of surprised here. I thought we were going to level off and go back down, but it looks as though this one wants to continue up. Now, it's hard to say. It almost matches this one here, though, the previous one. A little bit of inflation, leveling off, and then a sharp rise of inflation again before a deflationary event. We'll see, though, if that follows that similar trend. I guess we'll know in the morning, but we're, again, at the highest level of inflation here across this volcano since 2018. So that in itself tells us something, that things are getting quite stressed underneath the area. All right, quick recap here of space weather. Looks like things have missed us in terms of seeing the auroras out here, unfortunately. But we'll see in the morning. Storm Prediction Center out here. Noisy night, looks like, out in eastern Colorado, New Mexico area, Texas as well. Well, this is this is early in the morning and whatnot throughout some of the day there on Saturday. But the official look here for the day on Saturday does show all that activity stirring up out here. Small tornado potential, mostly wind and some large damaging hail will exist here with some of these thunderstorms that brew up. That's for Saturday. On the day on Sunday here, most of that weather shifts well northward here as expected into the northern plains for this time of year. We'll check back on that, though, as we get a little bit closer to that Sunday time period. Let's see. Yellowstone National Park. No unusual noise. Still looking at some errors going on here with the seismograph station. I don't think they really care that, it looks like that. I don't think there's, it may stay like that for months at a time until someone gets around to fixing it. But wind noise out here all over the place earlier today. I was watching that. This is not magma movement. Big time wind. In fact, when these thunderstorms brew up here, they do produce a lot of environmental noise out here. So no earthquake activity that I can spot. Well, okay, I take that back. One little earthquake here. Probably not showing up on the USGS map. Let's see here. Nope. but it's probably a .7 or so. Nothing big. So Yellowstone supervolcano, quiet. GPS conditions tell us that it's going down in terms of inflation. I do like to check the stations out here on occasion to see what may be going up and what may be going down. There's so many of these. I got to find one that may actually be working. A lot of these look like they are offline. There we go. 2024 right here. Notice that downward trend. We're continuing. This is the vertical displacement. If this was going up at Yellowstone, obviously we'd be a little concerned, right? But things are going down, and they have been. This was an instrument adjustment. This didn't happen to go whoop way up north here, or way up, and a far eastward movement. This is just an antenna adjustment that takes place back then. But as you can see, for the most part, we've had little periods of what looks like inflation, but most of the time that is due to ground swelling there with the snow melt and whatnot. You know, during the spring and summer months there, the ground swelling does kick up those little readings. But the overall trend here shows us that we're going down. Better than going up. All right, a lot of activity. Goodness, just crazy amount of earthquake activity out here today, just all over the place. So we'll see what happens here tonight. Catch you guys back out here in the morning, Saturday morning update. And, you know, a little disappointed in the space weather activity here, but that was a, you know, small chance that we would have got hit with that CME. We still might. I don't know. There's still, maybe it's traveling slower than normal. We'll find out in the morning. We'll catch you guys back out here in the morning after a good night's sleep. A little muggy out here in California, about 80 degrees. And here, you know, a lot of people think muggy in California. Well, we live here where I'm at, me and Missy Mimi's. We live in the Sacramento Valley, and we're surrounded by rice fields and orchards that are consistently watered. And I kind of wish it was a dry heat, because living in this type of environment is similar to, maybe not as intense as the South, but it's humid, and the dew points are up there. When that sun is beaten down and evaporating a lot of that water, the rice fields, it's very similar to living down in the South, and it's a humid night out here. So I'll be running the ACs all night here, keeping everything cool in the computer room. And we'll see you guys back out here in the morning. Stay safe out there, and hope everyone enjoys the weekend. It's upon us. Take care, folks.